Nope, I'm just making sure we're good before I... Oh, I don't even need that. And agenda in my pocket. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. John Boys, what's that? Have you seen these, Carol?
Sean just came.
You got it. Thank God. Thank you. I'm looking for it. I'm like... All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:59. Friday evening. The agenda for the night is discussion of the process regarding the hiring for the new director and the employee health insurance for 2014. There is, thank you, sir, I really appreciate that. There is no public comment, however, we do want public input on the process we're going tonight, so we will waive the formalities for open discussion as we go through this. So any input from those gathered would be great. As we go through the packet we have handed out, do we get enough out there, Lise? Do you need one? Okay. What I made copies, everybody, today from the employee handbook, the Appendix J and N, the recruiting and hiring process as per the employee handbook, and the job description as per the employee handbook. I put those out. After that, you see appendixes. This is an appendix from a resolution, 99-73.
You're doing too much rain.
And yes, and this is the salary classification as per our last resolution. This is the updated one. It has the salary ranges. And as you can see by the asterisk, even though the ranges for the director is $28,000 to $52,500, it says salary position negotiable. I also added the last contract we had for the previous director. And the final one was a resolution that talked about the levy. Ms. Paper mentioned having information about the district and kind of doing the community we serve type thing and everything else. I figured I'd throw that in there for everybody to have a look at because this clearly defines the levy that we passed, last levy that was passed. So that's the information I handed out. The process going forward, the timeline we obviously have to scrap since we said to start during the holidays was a bad idea. So let's start. Should we start there?
Yeah, I have some ideas to share with you.
That would be awesome.
And I'll have you look at them, and if somebody, I don't have enough copies for everything, just my review. So if it's certainly not something that couldn't be distributed further, but I'll leave that to you, whether you feel like for tonight.
We can make some more of these real quickly as soon as we're done at a break or something.
Great.
I'm sorry,
So
there you go.
these are suggestions, of course, for you all to consider. So I kind of, we can get back to the ad, but I kind of went through the selection process here. This is, just a recommendation for a process that might work. So I would, I don't know how you all get mail here, if there's a P.O. box or how that works, but I would suggest that candidates mail their applications to the pool. The envelopes are collected, still sealed, and given weekly to one of the commissioners. As a public agency, you're required to document your selection process, and then you have to retain those records for 3 years. Easiest way to do that is to just, as soon as you know that once a week update on an Excel spreadsheet, and I kind of listed here, it doesn't need to be very detailed, but the name of the candidate, address, and such. And then when you wrap up your process, then you have, we have 15 candidates, and, we interviewed these 5, and so on. So it's just a great summary document for you. And then you have to retain that somewhere here
yes.
for 3 years. I would suggest, because of the level of this position, is requiring candidates to answer specific questions about their experience that you deem to be particularly relevant for this position. So in other words, kind of not that canned cover letter or like, I'm really interested in the job, please interview me, but really kind of compel them to tell you a little more detail, maybe 3 or 4 areas that are most important to you. And you can identify what those are. But you might say something like, in your cover letter, please share with us your recent experience leading a public agency. Or if you're going to be very specific in that you want a candidate who's led a park and rec district, then you would say that. Please share with me, your experience in leading a multidisciplinary staff, or however you want to describe it. So pick a couple points that are really important to you, and then that candidate will include in their cover letter a little bit about that. Allows you to get a sense of their writing, their communication. It also weeds out people who are just kind of sending off resumes and cover letters. It requires just that a little additional level of commitment. So I just kind of read through this. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay. And these, again, I've done a lot of interviews in a large settings, small settings. So these are some best practices. Might not be quite right for the culture here, so whatever you all think would be good. But what I would suggest is, 2 of you, knowing of that only 2 of you can be together at one time, that you do the phone screening of the candidates. And I would say that you're probably going to be able to narrow your pool usually to a top 5. I mean, there might be some people who have part of the qualifications, but really you should be able to narrow it to just 5 that you would actually speak with on the phone. I would schedule them, and this would be like, you'd have to take a full day, because it's going to be like every 45 minutes, gives you a 30-minute phone call, gives you 15 minutes to take a break, write your notes down. If the call goes a little long, you're not bumping up to the next candidate. And then the next step would be invite the top 2 to 3 to come in person. And then again, this is just a model that might work here is in-person interview with those same 2 commissioners, because remember, you're going to kind of follow up on that conversation. So you want to build on what you've already asked and take it that next step. And now you have them right in front of you. And then, meet with the senior staff, maybe a round table, something a little bit more informal, but a chance for, that's going to be such an important bond. And so for them to get a sense of one another, and, they might just talk about each other's experiences, what the staff might have expectations and hopes for this position. The new person who's coming in to want to get a sense of who they're supervising and kind of what the culture is, what's the vibe from the staff. You want to pick somebody to manage that conversation. So there's a timekeeper, and, it keeps it from going places, if it gets too personal, or you've got to have somebody, let's not go there. And so somebody who can help manage that conversation. And then I'm sorry, I couldn't remember from I know there was a woman who was so lovely who was going to, you had put
Nola.
Yes, what a great idea. And then so these are some thoughts. If you're going to put together a community panel, bring someone in who's not a stakeholder, but from the base, from the Oak Harbor School District, somebody who might have some experience interviewing for leadership positions, who would be willing to take the time. It's not going to be a huge amount of time, but this is a community. We're part of the community, and their input would be helpful. And then the woman, Sean, that you said, other thoughts, be the biggest participants in the NWPRD programs. How do you represent that? Whether it's a master swimmer or someone, a parent from the NWAC team, I put in there neutral, that we've got so much baggage here, so you have to select that person very carefully. That's the nicest way I could put it. And then I know that there's other things under, less than there used to be, but there's other services than just the pool under the NWPRD. So perhaps there would be somebody who could represent kind of that constituent, if you will. And then what I really like this is a third commissioner would then kind of do the wrap-up. And that's, remember this is probably going to be somebody not from our community. So do the full tour, go out to the fields and, hey, this is what we, as under our umbrella, maybe a little bit more about the community. It gives a little less formal, so you kind of get to know somebody a little more personally, and allows you to have one more commissioner who's met the candidates and would weigh in a bit differently about how they felt about meeting that person. And then I just put a note here. I couldn't remember if there was an issue that there wasn't a policy about travel expenses, about how to pay for travel expenses for candidates.
There is no policy. I couldn't find, I should say this, I couldn't find when I came in today and I looked last week, there is no policy that I could find for travel expenses. That doesn't mean that there's not one in there. But
okay, so if there isn't one, go on the MRSC, make some decision, and come up with something that is a good framework for you so that you can know if you have to, if you allow a candidate to drive here, you're going to pay them the IRS mileage for that drive. You probably wouldn't fly someone in, we don't pay for spouses, that kind of thing, kind of delineate. Even if it's very brief, it gives you the guidelines of what you're making your decisions about. And also, it's nice as a candidate if you share that with them, because they kind of have to decide, well, do I want to cover the hotel, or we cover the hotel, or do I want to spend a second or third night because I want to do some house hunting? Kind of gives them a sense of what their financial commitment would be. I prepared some for you. These are some of my favorites. And I only have one copy of each because I was a little stingy on that.
That's
Actually
fine.
ran out of time. But
That's
remember,
fine.
they're easy to make copies of, and those are really some great behavioral interviewing questions. And behavioral interviewing it's the whole kind of the science behind it, which is that people's behaviors are pretty hardwired. So you're going to ask them questions, and it's going to give you a really good sense of how they would react or respond in a certain situation. It moves you past like saying, we want somebody who has a strong financial background and is, really good at diffusing conflict. And then, are you a candidate like that? Yes, I am a very strong financial. You want to say, tell me about your relationship with your current board. What kind of information do you feel is necessary to share with them? And then you can build on questions around that. But pick those key areas, and you all could contribute to the questions, even if just two of you are the ones who are actually doing the interviewing. What also is in there is, I talked about, you're looking for those tangible skills, so ask those really direct questions, the specifics that you're looking for. But then the behavioral interview questions will let you get at those soft skills around communication, conflict resolution, developing a team, all those types of things. And I put on there some exploration of values and ethics, because you really do get a sense of what somebody is all about. People are I find in interviews, the more comfortable they get, they become more transparent about their decision making. What kind of information they include in that, how they manage politics within an organization. You really start to learn kind of what's happening inside somebody's mind and stuff. So it's worth it to really invest some time in those questions. And you already know that you always ask each candidate the same questions. And then it's fine to interject with a unique question to follow up. And that allows the interview to become more of a dialogue, more of a conversation. And less of, question number one, question number two. It's actually, well, tell me more about, when you said that didn't turn out as well as you had hoped. What would you do differently now? Use that opportunity to probe and learn more. I also recommended here a rating sheet, and I gave you some samples in that packet I just gave. It's not in your individual packets, it's in the pile of papers. And some of those are more appropriate than others. This was like, some of this stuff is probably a little too more than you really want to deal with. But here, So you got me started, and then I
Here we go.
just had to tear it all. So this is a good example. So this one has like educational background, prior work experience, technical qualifications, verb, so on. So if you picked the top 8 things, let's say, that you wanted to really have in this candidate, this would be your subjective way to say, yeah, I think it's like this, and objectively I can assign a number to it, might jot down some notes, so that you can compare those all together. You're going to want to create one for your panel because you want information from your panel and you also want information from your staff. But you want to give them something more than just, did you like that guy? You want them to be able to say, I thought he didn't have directly related experience, but seemed like he would be a good fit, or we really connected. You want to give them a place to put those things so you can help put that with your package to make your decision. And then lastly, the reference process, which I know can be kind of a mixed blessing because employers are so limited in what they can share often in references. But sometimes you luck out and you get that great supervisor who might be willing to say, hey, this is a personal reference. But you want to get a sense from their previous supervisor and colleagues, hey, what were they like to work with? What was this person like to supervise? You really are relying upon that information to get a sense of maybe there's some things that they need to work on, but are those things that you can support that candidate growing, or does that kind of rule them out? So that's the process in a nutshell.
On the reference, I've got a question, if we may. On the reference process, in the past, I know one thing we have used is give us 4 references, 3 that you know will be outstanding, and give us 1 person you've had a conflict with before or may not be as glowing as the rest, and then tell us why. And we've used that to build on, as you said, the character questions and the value questions, because, as you said, it's very foretelling, how they deal with it. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? And I think that was just the HR person we had at the time
Yeah,
suggested
it's very
that.
interesting. I've actually never heard of that before. There's certainly could pursue that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Because they don't have them.
Like most people, it's just like that question, tell me what your weaknesses are. Well, my strengths. I need to tell you about, those questions are so hard. It could work, Sean. It could probably depend on the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe save it more for a question instead of a required reference then?
Yeah, I think if you're able to talk to their previous supervisor or current supervisor, and if you ask the question more positively, like what areas are you helping Carolyn to work on, as opposed to saying does Carolyn have any weaknesses? Just that negative connotation. And if the boss likes the person, they want to help them get the job done. They don't want to lose them, but they want to support them hopefully. So. Yeah. Oh, they're great. Yeah, they're on time. They're great customer service. Yeah, you got to hire them now.
Red flag. So what do you think is a good time frame then? If, and here's my suggestions as we're all sitting here talking about this. If we look at a week to build the a flyer type announcement, and then review it, send it out, how long do you think it needs to post? According to the handbook, we have to send it to the Whitby News Times, Crosswinds, the Bellingham Herald, which I thought that was interesting, but that's what the employee handbook says.
And it says you must do that?
What's that?
It says you must do that?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's going to be expensive also.
And at the following locations for a 2-week period. So it says a minimum of 2 weeks. I suppose we can make a
I
motion.
like that you have a human resources department.
What's that?
I like that you have a human resources department. It
It's
says posted by human resources.
yes, it does. And I actually found a PD for a human resources person in the employee handbook, which I thought was excellent. Yeah. I've been looking for it for 2 years, or him, and I haven't found him. But, yeah.
You know what I would tell you, honestly, frankly? When's the last time this has been updated? 2008?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would be wasteful, to be honest, to advertise in the ways that there's other ways that won't be so costly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to increase your market. I think if you stick with the 2 weeks, as though, that's a really important piece. The handbook says it's got to be posted for 2 weeks or out there, but in terms of, you wouldn't usually define what the advertising is. Like, for example, if you were running an ad for a coach position, these wouldn't be where you would run
I
that.
agree.
So it should be targeted to, and if there was a position that was a support role here, you might, do the Whitby News Times, you'd source your local market. So you should have the discretion to target the market that's going to be most advantageous.
Yeah, you read that Seattle Times PI.
I agree. Totally.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Especially electronically in the last 5 years has changed. I mean,
I agree. It also does say in here about when the director, if you look at page 2, when the director, head coach, and/or aquatics director's position becomes vacant, the position will also be advertised in the Seattle Times PI. Didn't the PI go out of business? As well as other professional aquatic periodicals and websites as deemed necessary. So maybe that opens up the door for us to say, we're not going to do Bellingham, we're going to do Washington State Parks and Rec Association, PNS, USA Swimming, those types of things.
You have the discretion, there's no legal obligation in terms of where you advertise the position. So I think you have...
we're already going to look at the employee handbook in the upcoming months. We've already talked about that.
What we can do though is use it as a guide here, to make sure that we cover these things so that, we at least... So 2 weeks, I don't think that's enough time. I would say a month at a minimum.
Some of the advertising will be for 30, it'll be a 30-day post anyway. So you have to think about that too, because, you don't want to have it posted and then have your posting, a 2-week period, and then you're going to consider it closed when it's still out there on the web.
And is it best to start on a Monday or a Friday, or does it really matter?
I mean, if you're looking at a 30-day or a 3-week period, I mean, in this day with the internet, people are doing it while they're driving. I mean, there's no longer like you have to wait till the weekend, wait for the paper to come. I mean, you can job search anytime, anywhere. So it's a different deal.
So 3 weeks, would that be just throwing numbers out there? All I'm doing is making suggestions because the chair cannot make a motion. So like if we said by the 13th we'll have the packet ready to go. And from the 13th till the end of January, which would be a 3-week period, 1, 2, 3, well, don't do that, don't hit buttons. I need my 10-year-old. 1, 2, 3, that would be 3 weeks. Closing on the 31st, that's 3 weeks. Would that be in a...
Yeah, I think if you just could get a sense of where you're advertised, and they're going to lock you into a 30-day anyway, then you might as well do it for 30 days, because it's not going to be any benefit to you to have it still open on the...
Okay.
I know it protracts the process, or prolongs the process.
Could we, do some discussion tonight and then make some final motions on our regular meeting in January?
The regular meeting in January is, correct me if I'm wrong, the 16th?
Third Thursday?
Yep, 16th. So...
Can we move the meeting up a week?
Have you selected who's going to be the...
Well, we still have a selection committee, myself and Alan. I'm still willing to do the work. And here's the thing. I think we can have everything ready to go no later than the 13th of January, so that we fly that on the 13th. If we want to have another special meeting on the 10th to review everything prior to it going out, I think that's a good idea too. It's another Friday. We can do it quick, down and dirty on a Friday, have the information sent out to everybody, and we'll find, can we post that in a folder on the website? If I send everything to you, would you be able to post it? So like if, say, Elizabeth wants to get it from the website, or Sharon, Ms. Carolyn wants to get it from the website, she could go and grab that information and say, hey, you know what? your idea here is pretty boneheaded, you need to change A, B, and C. And that way we could have input from everybody before the 10th. Do you think we'd be able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as the timeline goes, I said we can have the information out to everybody prior to the 10th of January. So a packet prepared by January the 10th for a special meeting.
And this will be available on the,
As soon as I can get stuff up and on there, I'll get it up and on there. Yes, sir.
are we talking about a meeting on the 10th?
A meeting on the 10th so we can talk as a group about what we want to change. Would that be doable?
Was that a question to me?
Yes, sir.
I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
That'd be fine.
Kirk, would you be
Yeah,
available?
I think that'll be fine.
Alan? Lise, is Alan available on the 10th?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
6 o'clock?
Yeah, Steve? Okay. 6 p.m. on the 10th. Yep. And so what we'll do is we'll look at advertising. So packet by the 10th. Where do we want to advertise in? We've mentioned the Whitby News Times.
I think Seattle Times, because of the community that covers the whole region.
Seattle Times.
Recreation
All right.
facilities there.
There's an association of Washington cities, AWC.
AWS Association of Washington Cities.
And I have recently seen some advertising for Parks and Recs directors that we may be able to, I might be able to contact some of these districts. One was down in Vancouver. I think the city of Vancouver was looking for one just recently. I don't know whether they've hired by now. This has been a couple of months ago that I noticed it. And I might be able to get some good information from a contact there. Their board or whoever.
You're going to contact them?
Yeah, I can.
Would you?
Certainly can.
That would be awesome. All right.
And I recommend that for any of us as we're trying to determine where we're going to advertise, especially to find out what other districts or other cities are using
Yeah.
as a primary source.
So it's worked for them.
Yeah, and maybe they had a number 2 that was really close.
No, and really, because they might say, we did have a great number 2. Do you want me to see if they would be interested in us, connecting number 2?
Okay.
Doesn't hurt to talk to them,
No,
right?
it doesn't.
So we'll also have a list then, and we can share that information back and forth
Yeah.
without violating the WAC. If it's just 2 of us and we don't CC everybody. And then I can put all that out on the 10th and we'll make it a notice for that meeting. And that way we definitely don't. I'll contact Anacortes unless somebody else already has. All right, I'll contact Anacortes and I'll also contact Bellingham because they both just went through the process.
Yeah, they did.
So unless somebody who goes up to Bellingham wants to,
Well, that's an idea too.
contact Bellingham.
Well, I do have a contact in the Public Works Department which oversees the parks. I'd be happy to do that.
Would you?
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you, Dave.
Our former city engineer.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Yeah. So, good. We'll get some good information there. We'll plan then on a meeting on the 10th. We'll have the packet prepared prior to the 10th. Oh, is this an example of what you guys used?
Like this was the...
Oh, yeah.
So this is kind of an idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, it would, one, you could do something like this and then put it as an attachment on the webpage.
Mhm.
Because people are going to go to your webpage. Whether they find the job elsewhere, they're going to want to go see what you're all about. And so you could have a more detailed description listed there. And it's, it's kind of the general idea. But here we really can sell the North Whitby community. the beauty of the island and an opportunity to, lead this district.
In fact, I saw a link on our website for just, in general hiring on the left-hand side. When we go to the homepage, we're hiring for, I think, facility or janitorial. But we could easily just have something for job openings there.
We'll set up a Facebook page. Which one do you utilize?
Yeah, I'm not up on keeping up with any of the web maintenance or anything. I don't know if we have a webmaster here.
I handle, Bill got me up to speed on our website, so I'm handling that. And then myself, Erica, and I believe Aaron all have access to our Facebook.
Okay.
So we can,
You can do it on this. What about LinkedIn? Good or bad?
Excellent.
Okay. So how do you guys feel about using LinkedIn?
I've never used it.
Um,
I think it's fine. I don't know costs related.
is it?
Craigslist is, always a very affordable resource. I don't, it's an option at least.
Yeah?
It's like $25.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it a reliable resource?
You can get some, it's mixed. I mean, you get a lot of, and you end up getting a lot of junk for a while afterwards.
Okay.
I think the $200 might be worthwhile if it gets a more serious set of applicants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do them both, but I think that we shouldn't get rid of them.
Can you look at
as possible.
cost of LinkedIn?
Sure.
Thanks.
The Seattle Times, it'll run you about the same.
About the same.
$200, most of these.
That should find its way into all of the park and rec agencies in the
I
district.
think AWC will be Association of Washington. Is that happening right? I mean,
Cities.
Yeah.
And there is a Washington State Parks and Rec Association that we could probably post in also. So I think that's probably worth looking at.
Do you want to look into that?
Yeah, I can definitely look into that one, the Seattle Times and the Webby News Times, and get cost and timeframes. And so I'd asked us all to get costs, timeframes.
Have it to you about the 10th? Or
Yeah, have it to all of us on the 10th. If you want to send it back to me, so I can put it on the put it in the folder for the website, that would be
we're
fantastic.
looking at a cost for 30 days.
For 30 days. Well, we'll target 30 days, and then if we find out we don't have to, and length of an ad, because we'll need to know if we can, if we can only do it if we can do it for 3 weeks, then great. If we can do it for less than 30, we'll do it. But
What's the cost break on those?
on those, is it going to cost us more to do it for a shorter period of time? Let's talk real quick about the announcement. If you look at the job description, let's look at the areas of responsibility, please. As we go about this, as I go about building the PD or position announcement, the job announcement, obviously the job description, the first bullet I'm going to put in there: coordinates, supervises, and administers all phases of the district, oversees the staff and all financial dealings of the district. Underneath that, if we look, it talks about areas of responsibility, specific duties, physical requirements, qualifications, and who they're responsible to. It kind of makes it easy on the back page. There's not a whole lot there. As far as qualifications, I made a note here, questions based for cover letter. So we can ask that they respond to, we can base our questions on experience in the aquatic facility, experience with management, what type of management they've had in the past. So if we could have those questions together, any suggestions, once again, from the public, because sometimes a lot of times the best ideas are going to come from you all. Any questions you think might work would be good to get by the 10th. Also, I'll put sample questions in the position announcement, and then what we'll do is we'll change those around. I'll bring my laptop, and we'll be able to do it right here. So anything we want to change, we can do that here. So is there anything as we review this from the front to the back, that we see that we definitely... Ladies, I hate to interrupt and be rude, but we do have a special meeting tonight of the commission and the board. So if you can either keep it down, or I hate to ask, can you go sit out on the pool deck while you're waiting for your child or something else? That would be great. I hate to be rude.
Yeah, I'm sorry about making you because over here.
No, it's okay. Thank you. The areas of responsibilities, going through these from the top to the bottom, anything that somebody definitely wants to see in there? Because some of these things like responder recommendations from the senior staff, that whole paragraph doesn't need to be in there. We could say something like works well or works effectively with senior staff members and has good communication skills. That would cover that and a couple other things. But is there something in here that somebody sees as a stickler that's got to be in the position announcement?
I'm trying to figure out how the director is responsible for the overall operation of the facility, or responsible to the Board of Commissioners for the overall operation of the facility. There's sort of pieces of things in here, but there's nothing that I see that says that.
I'm sorry, say again.
It just, the function, the director has to be responsible for the overarching questions, overall responsibility for policy to the Board of Commissioners. And if you can see that in a point there, I'd be really happy. But we've got them establishing, following procedures that are in the manual. We've got them staying informed of things that are happening in other places. We've got them administering the budget. We've got them on his own initiative or by direction of district commissioners, ensuring the implementation of district commission policy. It's all tied to that, but it's not the person. We want a person in here who is responsible and sees themselves as responsible for the overarching things to the commission. And I don't see that in these points. I see pieces.
I don't know if we'd want to have it to the commission or to the district. Because we represent the district.
We represent the district,
right?
And the director should be responsible to us, because we do that overarching thing. We've got that in our bylaws.
But does it say that more in specific duties? Because it submits a report to the district commissioners, responsible for all aspects of the district's finances.
But there's something more than that, where a person takes on responsibility, and all of this other stuff's underneath it. And it's sort of that integrative responsibility, which just isn't there. What it is, it's all broken down, so it's sort of assuming a set of documents that are going to really be the things that people are responsible for, or aspects of the job. But there's nothing that, what you want is you want a person that's hired, that comes in here, and we hire them because they've got the competence, because they know what the type of challenges are, what the community diversity would be that you're trying to deal with, and they have overall responsibility for putting all those pieces together.
Wouldn't that be covered, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, coordinate, supervise, and administers all phases of the district?
That would be really good if I could find that in there.
It's the top line.
Yeah, but that's not in the areas of responsibility.
But that's the main point of his job description.
That's the best shot I've got so far.
Okay. So I've already started, so I will make sure that's in there. Will that work?
Fine with me.
Okay.
As long
All
as
right.
we don't lose that.
I promise that will be in there.
For the last while, what we've been doing for all of our lives is dealing with picky little things which never get to the integrative aspect of the stuff.
Okay.
When you're asking about the the candidates and how they source their candidates, and Anna Port is Bellingham, and I can't remember where you were, somewhere south.
It's Vancouver.
That ask them if they can email you a copy of their job description. And this is not really very comprehensive. probably the nicest thing to say.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want your director following the policies and procedures. You want him presenting them to you and saying, here's my recommendation. So it doesn't seem managerial overarching. It seems more task-oriented. But what's nice is build on what you guys get from those other agencies who might just have rewritten their job description.
Right.
Because since they just posted their position.
And so we can also make any changes to the PD on that January 10th meeting, because then we can vote on that in the special meeting before it goes out, because that'll be prior to the... So if you guys find stuff, as Carolyn suggested, from the other places, we'll be contacting them. You want to add into this? Or Alan, if you've got something you want to add in, email it, and I'll add it in, and we'll start to build a new PD also.
I don't really work very well that way, but I'll try it. I work much better, like, if I see something like a proposal here, which is submit a budget report each year to the district commissioners, I would take out the word report and feel an awful lot happier with that, because you want just him or her to submit a budget to the district commissioners, which accurately report income, not a budget report.
Okay?
And see, again, it's focusing down pieces of paper. And what you want is you want that broader thing as what the message is, if that makes sense.
All right.
I'm happy to try, but if it's blank, then it's really hard to fill in a list of things and have it mesh well with what
Like I said, I will get the initial PD out to everybody and to the website by... I'm going to hang myself here. I'm going to go by the 6th. All right, by January 6th.
It'll be an epiphany.
By January 6th. I'm not going to say what time on January 6th. No, I will have something out January 6th, hopefully first thing in the morning. Yes, because I go to work that day. So you will have it in the morning, Monday morning on January the 6th. I'll have the position announcement out for, I'll send it to to all of us, to you. You, if you'd like. Elizabeth, if you'd like me to, I can send it to you also if you'd like to make input on this.
If it's available on the website, I can
Is that okay? All right.
Thank you.
I'll send it to you to post on the website, and then we can get people's comments from it. So that'll work well. And that way we'll have 4.5 days for people to digest it and make comments before Friday night's meeting. And I'll make it a live document that we can change Friday night quickly. All right, so the plan is we'll have the position announcement finished on the 6th. We'll have sources of where we want to go and advertise out for the 10th. Let's talk about the selection process.
Real quick.
Yes.
On the qualifications.
Yes.
I'm just reading this here. Do we want to call out how much experience they should have? I mean, you could have a guy with a 4-year degree in whatever, and he's worked at a park for 6, you know what I'm saying? I mean, aren't we trying to target people who have, experience? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of, because we talked about that briefly the other day. I mean, the whole 4-year, the 4-year degree. I mean, you get a guy that can qualify, that really, I mean, if we're only going to narrow the field down to the top 5, you see where I'm going with this?
No.
Okay.
Give me more.
Well, I just think that we should put how much experience they should have. I mean, 2 years experience, whatever, 4 years experience. What are we looking for? I mean, when you got to look, I mean, so you've worked at a park. You've got a guy that's worked there for 6 months. By this, he could qualify. He's got a 4-year degree in,
And some of that would be, we'd weed out. And I'm not
I just
stopping.
kind of wonder if we should call out, though, you have to have X amount of time as far as experience working in a park.
Okay. Do we want to include that? Do we want to
I
limit
have
it?
a real problem on the other side of it. I agree with you,
Yeah.
but I also don't know why a 4-year degree. I've lived in universities. I've got nothing but degrees. And I know what people have when they have 4-year degrees, and it may be nothing, and it may be tremendous. But the thing is that some people with practical experience could do the job really well without a 4-year degree. So I have a hard
So
time
maybe
with
more
why 4-year
experience
degrees.
is what we should focus on, minimum 5 years.
Could we say
desired.
experience and or a college degree and/or experience? Or what?
That happens a lot, doesn't it? Anyway,
But preferred, the college degree, that, a bachelor's degree in a related field preferred. And Alan, I agree with your sentiment. You can find extraordinary candidates without a college degree, and you can also find ones with or with a master's degree that, it's really the whole package of what someone brings. The experience is going to be tremendous.
I like how you said it as far as preferred. I like that.
And that allows you to rate your candidates. So you're going to put the ones just on the surface with the degree and the experience at the top, and then you'll go down from there.
I really like that too, because it doesn't close anybody
Yeah, I do
out
too.
just because they don't have a piece of paper.
Okay.
Thank you. I like that. I like it a lot.
Okay, good. All right, so I'll make sure I put preferred. I got it. Got it right there for you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What funds?
Yes, ma'am.
For your budget, where do your funds come from? Do they come from members who have their children swimming here?
And both, and we can answer that question after we go after this. And I'm not going to be rude.
Already have been.
Okay, good. Politician.
I'm
So,
trying to figure out, like, this is public area for you to shush.
okay.
No,
No, actually, okay, stop. Here, let me explain. I'd be more than happy to explain it. I'll explain it to you real quick.
You not, because
Well,
I pay to come here.
You
And I
and
probably pay your paycheck.
actually don't. I'm a volunteer and I'm an elected official. I'm an elected official, and you may now leave under the Washington
She
codes.
told me I didn't have to.
Yeah, but I'm holding a public meeting,
I'm public.
and according to the wax, you're interrupting. Okay, and I'm sorry. I'd be more than happy. What's that?
You don't answer questions unless...
Oh, I will answer questions, just not right now. It's not part of the meeting, and we're not having a public comment about that right now. So I'm sorry, but I can't answer that. I'll be more than happy to later. Okay?
Is the swim team part of something?
No.
It's all part of the district. This is the commission for the district. We're having a meeting about hiring a new director, and then we're having for the district. It's a tax district.
And there is a notice.
It's a special meeting. It's a public notice. We follow the Washington laws. We already talked about what we were going to talk about tonight.
What was I doing that was so distracting?
It wasn't you. I was talking to the other two ladies. I'm sorry you felt
I was
offended.
talking to these two
Yeah.
because they were talking. We couldn't hear each other.
Right.
It really had nothing to do with
It
you.
had nothing to do with you.
Man, we really didn't.
You're more than welcome to sit in.
Yeah. And I tell you, if you want to know more and more about
Sure.
the board,
Hold on.
there are
Steve,
minutes out
go
there.
ahead.
Yeah, just remember that we booked the room, and we have a public announcement, and it's a commission for the district, and you make much more money than all of us put together on this job because our number comes to zero.
Yeah.
So that you're not paying any of our salaries. We're doing this
Yeah.
to try and help the district. And this guy's overly polite because the noise was so much... Overly polite because the noise coming from those two people that were talking, we couldn't hear each other. You know,
Sit a little closer.
Okay.
No, man, real quick. No, real quick. Please.
That's okay.
No, please.
Coming here.
Please
Thank you
wait.
very much.
Have a good night. Anyway, so the selection process, you can't please all people all the time. So the selection process, I think it's laid out pretty well. What do you guys have to say about the selection process? Two commissioners, do we want to keep up with the two commissioners? Do you guys want to have two other commissioners? It's up to us how we want to proceed forward on this.
I like the idea of keeping the two and then maybe having a third commissioner do a final tour and that type of thing.
I don't know who the two should be. I think that, with you two, you have experience in the government area and some of the nuances. I don't have that, and if you're trying to find ways of winnowing people down because of what people are expected to do in this system, you guys would be better than I would be. I don't know what your base is, except you talk nicely to people, so that might be...
I would like to be the guide, to be the tour guide. That's my job. Yeah, I am a tour guide.
I think that I'm happy to help you in forming the system.
Yeah.
But I think on the interviews, it has to be somebody that knows when somebody's BSing you, because that isn't the way it works in the state of Washington. I wouldn't know that from anything. That's my problem.
if we can't have three commissioners together at the same time, no. You have two who are conducting the phone interviews and the same two conducting the in-person interviews. So then you could have two taking them around. Yes, getting a good feel for the
Hey, let's be tour guides together.
getting a good feel for the personality of the candidate outside of the interview process, even though technicalities, it is an extension. And then I saw in here where there was another commissioner who was doing something, according to Carolyn's suggested process. The fifth commissioner contact the references.
We could have the fifth commissioner contact the references. Sure. Definitely.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea. All right, so do I have any volunteers for the two commissioners to conduct phone screening interviews? I'd be happy to help with that one.
Well, I'm available Fridays.
Presumably that would be on a weekday,
Yes.
in which case I'm not available.
Okay.
Fridays are about when I would be available.
Okay.
If it was a work weekday, otherwise Saturday.
All right.
You
I can make either work. All right, so Kirk and I will volunteer to be the two commissioners. Kirk, Sean. Are the two commissioners to conduct the phone screening interviews. And then we'll invite the top two for an on-site interview. That'll be us again. And we'll have, Dave, would you be able to, if we did the, would you and Alan, who feels more comfortable doing the tour guide stuff with Steve? Because you made a very good point. We're going to put Steve down there already.
I'd be happy to square through the community panel, just where everybody's talking to make sure that nothing gets out of
Excellent. Okay. So Alan will be with the community panel. Fantastic.
I think that's where I saw the other commissioner.
Okay. And then Steve and maybe Dave, if available, would you help with the tour guide duties?
Sure.
That way we can all get a sense of who we're talking to. And as Carolyn said, different senses of who we're talking to. We'll see the...
I get to sit with the island. Yes, I love this place.
Do they get to go to dinner with the candidates too?
Not on the taxpayers' dime. Canada pay. And which is something we should probably talk about here
No, I'm
too.
just kidding.
So,
And you'll be on the community panel?
No,
No.
I'd be considered neutral whatsoever.
okay.
I don't think of myself any differently than that, but I don't want to sideline you guys, public perception.
Alan, you can be Alan, can you think of another master swimmer other than yourself? An NWAC parent perceived as neutral. That's a good,
I'd like to see you grab somebody off the swim lessons. That's what I'd like to see.
that's a good idea.
Somebody who has kids that's been in swim lessons for quite some time. I think there's somebody I would like to recommend for it, actually.
Sure.
Last name's Weiss. Can't remember John's her husband's name, but she's amazing. I know she helped coordinate the music festival downtown. Kids have been in swim lessons for years. Just a very positive individual. I think she would just be really good. Yeah. I can Facebook John tonight and see if she'd be interested.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, and send me the follow-up.
Really a neat lady. Just two kids. They're both, like 8 and younger, 8 and 6, I think, been in swim lessons probably for 3 years. It's kind of cool.
Okay. Cool. We'll have to look for an NWAC parent, maybe a new bronze parent. Might be a good person to go after. We're going to ask Coach about that.
Yes. Sorry.
Would you be willing to be part of the...
If you would like to invite me, certainly.
Yeah. Awesome. And Elizabeth, how do you spell your last name again?
It's spelled C-R-A-I-N. It's an unusual spelling.
Got it. I've got the emails, so thank you. Cool. I was thinking about asking Chris Phillips, the XO from the base, to sit on the board. You mentioned somebody from the base. They have a vested interest here. And Chris is the executive officer. He actually is finishing his master's on leadership. Great guy, very, very pragmatic, but I think he'd be good for it. Anybody have any issues with us asking Chris or Mike Nortier, the skipper out there? No? Okay.
Think of anybody on the Masters club? Jeremy would have been good, but he's off it now. Liz? I'm trying to look into that.
Mrs. Braun, I can't think of her first name.
Oh,
Came to the meeting.
yeah, Christine.
Teacher.
Christine.
The
German, yeah.
lady, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she certainly would have a
Christina, yeah.
triathlon type orientation.
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Christina, could you ask her?
I never see her because she
Okay.
comes at 6 o'clock in the morning or something. Pretty light.
Christina.
She's a teacher at Harvard Middle School.
Yeah.
Science teacher.
Would we have contact information for her?
Yeah, I've got it through Masters, so I can contact her. All right. So we've got, we've all volunteered for that wonderful pay we're getting for positions here. How long, let's see, top 2 commissioners conducts phone screenings, so let's look at time frame here real quick. And I'll try to edge this out so we've got something to walk away with. So, tentative, we fly the job on the 13th till the 3rd, either the 31st or the 31st or the 7th. Phone interviews, first or second week in February. We could have this completed hopefully by the end of February, with an offer by the end of the month. Does anybody see any issues with that?
We'll be gone from January 27th.
Okay, I'm gone from January 27th to February 5th.
February 5th?
Yeah.
Okay.
End of February.
That's okay. That's okay. It would be, I think we'd be all right with Alan being gone those dates. Cause
I don't think I'm that important.
I do.
Those
But
Fridays, if you targeted your Friday for the day of the two of you on the phone the whole day,
yeah,
and then you could really be able to bring the top 2 in if they were close enough to our region that following Friday,
the 14th.
like the 14th.
So we could target phone interviews on the 7th with the top 2 candidates being here on the 14th.
Or the 21st. I mean, if you could do one, it'd be nice.
One day, one the next day.
Pretty exhausting for everybody, all of you.
I'm getting a whole bunch of people shake their heads yes, so.
Yeah, your game is on.
Well, and I'd like to throw something out here. I just kind of came back to me. I mean, I don't want to get stuck in a situation again where we get into this drama that we had with the last director. I mean, that was terrible. And I know there's mixed feelings here, so I don't want to go into why it was there, but I do want to say there was a lot of drama with the last director. And maybe some of that could have been prevented with more of a short-term commitment to that person. And the reason I say this is to say,
Like
go
a
back
probation period?
to, well, not even probation, back to an interim position with the possibility to be brought in full-time. And again, I just, then if, at the end of 6 months, if the person isn't working out, there's some real problems, some things come out of the woodwork, or not, but people are getting negative, a lot of negative vibes, for a lack of better word, we can just say, hey, we're going to continue to look. I don't know if that's possible. I just want to throw that out there. And then if it comes to the 6 month and we decide to continue to look, no problem. But if the person's great, he's the ideal candidate, we just bring him in full time.
Can I ask you a question? Isn't that how the contract kind of is anyway?
Yeah.
It's a year contract, and in 6 months, they have you evaluate them, and at the end of the 6 months, you could terminate them if you want to work out, right?
Terminate, technically,
I know it's an at-will.
yeah, and so that's why I was like, why would we need, and I'm going to be quite candid. Why do you need to have that? The person works at the, pretty much,
Well, the reason I say
at the
that,
discretion of the board. And
it's
so
not always easy for the board, though, to come to a consensus, whereas if you have a finite contract period that, either way, I guess the board could come back and say, well, I'd like to keep them on and have, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Is it more to make the person aware that they're on, that they're, so
Yeah.
as they come here, they can't just expect it to, once they pass all the interviews, they seal the deal, they pretty much have the job, barring an uprising or something.
Well, yeah, I think you're
understand
onto
that
it.
it's
You're kind of onto it there. I'm trying to prevent from happening again. I want the best person in the job. And you're right. 6 months, we should be able to say, I'm sorry, it's not working out. But that doesn't always, then you feel sorry for the person. Or you think, well, let's give them 6 more months. Or, we get behind on whatever we need to do to be right by them. Whereas if we just have a 6 month or a 3 month interim contract, then they can try us out. They may not like working here. They may get here and decide, hey, my 3 months is up.
The challenge with that interim is you're not going to get the same pool of candidates because if they're employed right now, they won't want to make the leap. And I really honor what you're saying, Kirk, and that's why the investment that you put in right now, all of you, huge time investment, and working on the job description, going through this very intensive interview process, your reference process. You might want to bring somebody back a second time because you're like, ooh, I want to talk to them on the phone one more time. It's because you're doing everything you can in your power to make sure this is the right person.
Right.
And I think your staff here probably have some healing to do with all the turmoil and stuff. And
Well, I don't want to put them out too long, but at the same time, I don't want to be in a rush. I feel like we're in a rush to get somebody in here,
Right.
So where's that
That
fine
does seem
line?
like a very intensive interview process, though. You're not cutting any corners, certainly, with that.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's a good process. I don't know what kind of candidates we're going to have out there.
A lot.
Yeah, we'll have a lot. How many will be really
Maybe that's the thing,
qualified
the
for the job?
right. Well, and you may reach that decision then, Kirk.
Yeah.
We have that notice of motion
And you won't have that.
for our next meeting, which
Yeah,
essentially
here's a
stops
couple more.
unilateral
Everyone will
firing
get their own.
Mhm.
Right.
individuals. They have to come to the board, and we have to talk about it. The director recommends hiring and firing those full-time contracts. I think going through that process with an at-will contract gives you the capacity to avoid the type of things that cause problems in the past. In other words, I think by changing the bylaws, we get around that problem, which disrupts the whole community very quickly. May still have people fired, but the thing is, there's going to have to be a public discussion of it. The board's going to have to be on site, and then it happens, so that we have a little bit of time there for the community to either adjust or for arguments to be kept in-house so we can figure it out.
So yeah, you bring up a good point. Getting our bylaws up to speed to match with whatever we're telling this individual.
And then we still have an at-will contract, and I agree with you that, you're going to have to make the job attractive to somebody if you want to get a good person. And so they need some security if they're leaving their home for 6 months, not on a probationary contract. But anyways, that's just a bit.
You can have that in your back pocket. If you look at the quality of the candidates and you said, boy, we're really not, this isn't the caliber I hope to get, and maybe you say, okay, let's find us a really great 6-month interim and work with the staff because and say, you know what, this is what we're going to do for right now.
That could be part of the negotiations then, right?
Yeah, well, it would allow you to buy some time, maybe you do some networking. You really ideally want to hire somebody who's employed.
Yes.
And so you're going to want to, you can work, it sounds like you're already fairly well connected. What might come up in the next 6 months if you don't see a candidate, if you don't see the caliber.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this. I'm very confident with the senior staff right now to carry on in the absence of the director. I think there's always going to be things that come up, and there are always, there's stuff we can't forecast. But I think that we do have a solid senior staff right now. So I think that's, like you said, we're not in a rush. We want to do this right. But we've got a little wiggle room, like you said, with a competent senior staff on hand.
For what? I mean, we can't.
No, we don't want to leave them hanging. We don't want to leave you hanging.
A year from now,
No. It's.
Yeah, we do.
We need to
get somebody in there.
This is
Where Bill left off.
They've been quiet.
Well, there's no need to say anything, just to hear myself talk.
True. I just wanted to make sure you didn't want to add. All right. So special meeting on the 10th. We've got some assignments to do between now and then. I'll get those things to Nicole by the 6th. The packet, I'll have the position announcement to Nicole by the 6th. We all have places we're going to look at for advertising. And then we'll set out on making that announcement after the special meeting on the 10th. During which time we will also look at any additions, deletions to the current PD, which we have with us. Anything else for the hiring of the new director?
Those interview questions?
Yes, ma'am.
That's another area. If you make copies of that packet, you could each contribute via email ones that you would like to hear the candidates respond to either in that first year of the phone screen or
Okay. We will make copies of the interview questions and the job worksheets tonight. The interview worksheets, and hand those out this evening and put those on the website also.
Don't put those on the website.
Because then you don't want them to see what the questions are going to say.
But
That's right.
I also have under just my work documents, like stuff I've gathered.
So definitely don't put those on the website.
It's not that they're confidential, it's like tools I gathered.
Nope. Yeah. Sean? Yeah. You don't want that. You don't want that. All right. Any last questions, comments, or concerns about the hiring of the director?
Their job descriptions, again, we have a good start. And I think where I work, I have access to Human Resources Department for a lot of government-type job descriptions, kind of the generic boilerplate that is asked a lot from government employees. And I don't know, Caroline, if you also have, maybe Dave, you might have some access to some of that information.
I think your contacts are at those Park District contacts will be your best because as a public, it's another public document. Not only will they provide it to you as a courtesy, but it's something you could request as a public document. I would also Google this position as though you were an applicant because you'll get short postings. You can just, no sense for you to let's see what's out there. And also to let you know what else is out there, what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So you know who you're
Definitely.
competing with.
Thank you, sir.
Is this something that we need to, Ms. Pape talks about perhaps developing a travel expense policy. Is that something we need to discuss tonight? Or does that get to the
I think we can add that since we're talking about it tonight, or at least start discussion on that, as Dave mentioned. We can reserve final vote on that, say for the 10th, because then we can also talk to those other districts and the other places. I think we need to, and Dave brings up a good point, we need to talk to those contacts and find out what they do at Anacortes, Vancouver, and Bellingham for when they bring candidates in, especially Bellingham and Anacortes, since they are both tax-supported districts also. So Bellingham is part of the city, isn't it?
Bellingham is, yes.
Yes. Okay. So I think that would be, if we could do that when we talk, I'll do that when I talk to Anacortes. When you talk to Bellingham, if you could find out how they handle that, that would be great. And actually, if you could ask down in Vancouver, that would be awesome also. So, and then we can bring that back and vote on it, have a final vote on how much we want to spend toward it, or put out there as part of our process on the 10th. Sound like a plan? Okay. All right, so we're complete with the directors. Once again, I want to thank our sincere gratitude to Carolyn for coming in for this. Thank you so much. And for part 2 is the health regarding the employees' health insurance for 2014. And I know you've got some stuff, and you got some stuff too.
I just need a signature.
You just need a signature. All right, what do you got, Nancy? Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Thank you.
Updated spreadsheet is coming. Talked to her today, and she said she'd have it for the meeting tonight, but I never
And this
got
is
it.
from Unified or from
Yeah, the United Health.
United Health? Thank you. I'm sorry. So from United Health. All right. I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Pape.
Okay. So I spoke with Kimberly on the 23rd, and this is in a nutshell what she said to me over like about an hour. It was difficult to find any plan that was willing to insure the NWPRD staff. This insurer requires that 75% of the eligible employees elect coverage or the policy will be canceled. That's key.
At any time? So if somebody drops below that threshold,
It's not enough business for them. The insurer also requires the employer pay for at least 75% of the cost of coverage for the employee. So those are the participation guidelines. The plan is primarily medical, but does include, and this is an Affordable Care Act requirement, pediatric, which is not probably as much of an issue here. So under age 19, dental and vision coverage as well. So here's some thoughts for you all to ruminate on. You don't have options at this time because you're at the midnight hour, so you're just going to have to do this. The forms have to be in to Kimberly by Monday. So I think you just need to move forward so that you're compliant and that the employees have health coverage, have health insurance. Some things to consider regarding the cost share for the district is the Affordable Care Act doesn't require that you provide insurance for the employee's spouse or their dependents. So you may choose to only cover the premium cost for the employee at this time, and then put that cost share for any spousal or dependent coverage on the employee to pay. It's just looking at adding more people on to cover when you have limited resources. The reality, though, is I don't know what your contractual obligations are. I think Bill's has a contract, and everybody else is employed and would be covered under the employee handbook.
Bill and Matt are both contract. No, just Bill. Okay, good.
But you would also want to provide appropriate notice to the employees. You wouldn't just want to say, hey, it's December or whatever today is, and we're not going to cover your stuff. We're not going to pay 50% or whatever it was last year for your spouse coverage. And we're talking big money both for you guys and for the employees. I noticed on the employer enrollment form, the average number of employees is 68, which seems fairly high. And when you see in the fine print on that form, what their definition is for the average number of employees and how that's calculated. So I would recommend recalculating that average to make sure that's right. I noted here that Bill Walker mentioned that Colleen averaged 30 hours a week plus 30 plus hours a week, so she would be eligible for health care coverage too.
And there was, I'm sorry to interrupt, and you mentioned earlier there was another employee that was pretty close also with his hours, and that was?
I'm not sure. Well, Aaron and myself are also fall under that 30 plus hours. And then Travis is about 27 to 28 average. There are weeks that he's over 30, and then there are weeks that he's only around 20. Average-wise, he's under 30. So therefore, according to Kim, who spoke to her today, he's not necessarily required, but he's really close to that threshold. If he goes over, then we will be required to offer him.
So if he becomes consistently over 30 or over, then we have to offer it to him.
As soon as he hits that average of 30 plus hours, yes.
Okay.
So this goes back to,
Where does the 68 number come from? Is that 68 people that are potentially eligible for health care?
No, it's the number of employees.
We have about 68 active employees in our
But
system.
that goes from 2 hours up to 30, so a lot of them really aren't possibly being covered for health care, or?
The majority of our employees are very part-time. Minimum of like,
So-
5 hours to 20 hours a week.
So we're still looking at maybe 5 or 6 people.
Yes.
Otherwise, that'd be one whopping bill, and they all would.
Well, it's already going to be one whopping bill.
And it's
Like
age,
12 times
and
more.
it's age related. So what it would cost for, say, Travis would be very different than what it would cost for Bill Patterson.
Now, they already said they don't want, she didn't want to cut, they didn't want to take her plan on, or was it if,
Well, 25%
Yeah.
of people
75% of those.
decline coverage, and if Erica is one of 4, then that's 25% of decline
That
coverage.
was for the Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that's why we have United Health, correct? Is that what, is that?
No, this is United Healthcare requirement.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I thought it was just our previous health care. That's why we have to switch to United Health, because United Health was the only one that was willing to insure such a small number of eligible.
okay. So United Health is currently the only one willing to take on such a small number.
But how many people do we have in the present? And if you counted Travis, potentially, how many people are in this program?
Erica, Bill, Matt, myself, Aaron, and Travis.
6 people potentially.
Now, I know, like myself and Erica would waive because I have insurance through my spouse.
But if you waive it, then we've got more than 25% have declined the coverage and they won't cover us.
Hey.
So,
Because that's
is
2
it,
or 6.
is it too
I-
late to go down the route of the health exchange and give people so much money to where they buy their insurance through the health exchange?
Steve, I looked at like, have you ever heard of like a health reimbursement account?
Yes,
And I was thinking for you guys, if you give employees, here's $500 a month,
Yeah.
I'm going to put in this health reimbursement account, you can pay your premium or your out-of-pocket. But it looked like there's all these exemptions under healthcare reform that would preclude you from being able to do that. I don't know. I mean, that's really what I advise you here is do this because you must.
Gotcha.
The policy, if you can opt out at any time, is what Kimberly told me. And I'm telling you, she's a little bit scattered when you talk to her. So, I just wrote down what she said, and then she called me back like 2 other times. She's a very nice lady, but she's a little bit scattered. So this is what she said, I believe.
Okay.
But so I did clarify that you could cancel the policy. So if, for example, and what I noted here is that this would put number 1 on your new director's list. Might be a great interview question. So anyway,
What do you
let's
know?
pretend that you had so many employees.
But it's really important because if 2 people decline coverage, if the health care provider says that that's more than the 25%, then the other people aren't covered that thought they were. So it sounds to me like that we're not doing anything that's really very safe even if we approve it, unless we can somehow keep within
She
that
had
20.
described it to me on the phone was that the way that the employer portion to enroll is to fill it out 99% is what the employer is going to pay, and that gives the people the option of waiving rather than, that way it keeps the insurance policy open.
Okay, so, but we're paying for unused...
I know, I was kind of trying to follow, but
So we'd pay 99%?
it's what, the way it's written, but that's only to give the people a right to waive that don't want to elect coverage.
But then these...
But I think that keeps that falling below that 25%.
Because there's a cost share. Is that
Well, well, because it keeps so the 6 eligible people are still eligible, but even
So
though
you're
some
paying
of
for
them,
people that will basically decline, but you're essentially paying for them so everybody can...
but they're not, but we're not going to pay for them, but they're showing as eligible.
But we're paying the half or whatever it is. for the people
Well, we
that
wouldn't be
decline.
paying for the people who are declining, but they would just be showing as eligible. That's the way she had described it to me.
Well, those costs that Bill had given us last
That's
meeting,
what I was waiting
are they
on.
close to what he
I was
was?
waiting on a spreadsheet. She told me today she'd have it to me for this meeting tonight, so we'd be able to discuss it, and I wasn't able to
So
get
the
it.
problem with the 25% if those other people are not covered is is the establishment still in compliance? Because they just have to find they have to find a different health care that are willing to cover them.
We're, as an employer, obligated to have coverage for your employees. Although there's so much has shifted on the fines and everything else in 2015. And so, it is so complex.
It's a moving target right now.
Yeah, it is. And, you can talk to 10 different people and get 10 different answers. So, unfortunately, and I'm no expert.
Right.
I'm just, here and learning as we go, as everybody is. If the best interest is to proceed with this plan.
So what plan do we have tonight that she gave?
It's the same
Kimberly.
one.
It's the United Health.
It's the United Health.
I would say, just thinking out loud here,
I see.
Oh,
covering everybody, 75% is our share, 25% of our primary, of the primary employee. I don't know about family members at this point in time. Maybe a 50-50 ratio like we were doing before.
I thought on the budget we had
It was 80 and
50%.
50, 90 and 50. Right?
I wasn't here for the final budget,
90
so.
and 50 is what we voted
Well,
on the
for
budget.
the final budget, I was
The
sitting
plan
over
that
there.
was
so I don't
elected.
remember necessarily.
Yeah.
There's the documentation.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what exactly is it right now? What is
That was based on what
cost committed to for employees?
Currently,
Yes.
the salaried employees are the ones that are offered benefit, and the district pays 100%.
Is that 100% for the employee and family?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to at least get everybody covered,
But we adopted something differently in the budget.
right? And it was for less people.
It was for
Probably
less
to
people,
pay
and I
more.
believe it was also for a less amount that we were
I
cost
think it was
sharing.
at 90% for the employee and
50.
50%
It was 90 and
And I don't have
50.
my paper with me today.
The only challenge here to get there is that if you're going to obligate employees to enroll in this health plan, you can't then also compel them to have a cost share for their own coverage.
You can't have it, say that one more time, please. I'm sorry.
We can't say all 6 of you must, we're going to enroll.
Oh.
There's a mandatory
Oh,
I got you.
Then they have
that
to
you
pay.
have to pay.
I understood. So then you're paying 100 for the employee.
That's where you were saying the 99%.
Yeah, it's,
Where's it at, front page? Medical contribution,
Yeah.
employer pays 99%. Ouch.
that was to give,
But that's at least to get it going.
right, yes.
And then there's no,
Being taken away.
Right.
right, at least we have something. At least there's.
Right, yes, and we're, yes.
And this is for 4 people.
Yes,
And we can always
that's
add on, and we can change it after we keep it going, correct?
correct.
Okay.
They just have to have all the employees fill out their forms Monday. Get them in.
Well, and is that just 4 currently that are 30 hours and above regularly?
Well, there's 5.
5. So we have to have 5.
You'd have to have 5.
So
Well,
yourself,
there's,
Matt,
I
Eric?
think there's 4 that are on there, and she was approving all that with 4. But now there's, but,
One was a placeholder for the director position.
right, but yeah.
What's the director?
Oh, once he's hired.
He's hired,
Or
yeah.
she,
Right,
or-
he'll be the director.
He or she, very good, yes.
There's
Okay.
Eric, Bill, myself, and Aaron.
You mentioned
Not
Colleen.
Jared, because we
Oh, Colleen, that's,
got that line.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yes.
We make sure Jared doesn't work more than 29 hours.
you can't, well, as
can't do
Marilyn
that.
said, you can't do that.
We can't do that.
Schedule that.
Strike that from the tape.
So right now we have to continue with what we have. Otherwise, we have nothing for our employees.
Right, and then we'll be out of compliance.
We have to approve the 99% with United Health, which we can then make adjustments to going forward. Okay.
And that's for the employees, and that's nothing for the families.
I don't think we're, right, are we currently insuring anybody's family? Because I know Bill Patterson turned it down for his spouse. Is that correct?
She already did. Or he's planning on it.
Well, last I knew,
Yeah.
because he's made some changes, his spouse was on his.
Oh, his spouse was on his?
Yeah, and she's in,
And I know
yeah.
Matt has his spouse and his daughter.
Okay. Who is currently, do you know? Can we find out real quick before we make a motion or a vote?
Who's on there right now?
And who's on there right now, please? Because I don't want to take somebody off of it tonight, because as Steve said,
No,
they're,
well, I know Matt has, there's 3, and I believe Patterson.
Yeah,
if we can get those numbers so we can
What
vote on
percentage
it.
are we paying for Matt's child?
We said 50%. We can't make it less than that. You know what I mean?
What's that?
We discussed 50% a month ago. We can't make it less than that.
50/50 for dependents.
Right.
It's 50 for dependents.
Yeah, I think that's,
And one thing that Carolyn said earlier, and have we talked to them about that yet? Because if we at the 9th hour say, hey, we're going to change this to 50% tonight, and call Matt tomorrow morning and say, hey, how was your night? And by the way,
Well, it was approved a month ago, and assuming that...
I understand.
Assuming that Bill Walker told his employees, I guess Nicole would probably know.
We'll ask
If you
Nicole.
let them know, they have a staff meeting.
yeah, you should have.
They should have.
Okay.
Really uneasy taking away anybody's benefits if they thought they had them.
Yeah.
Especially with 2 days' notice and the thing all closed down, you just can't do it.
It's not the right thing to do.
well, and we can always go for a month or two and just say, it's coming.
What we need to do is come up with a plan for next year, right? That's
Right.
kind of where
Well,
you're going.
And really, your short-term solution is to get yourselves to just simply be compliant right now and also to treat your employees honorably.
Yeah, yes.
So they're not faced with any surprises.
Could you suggest as an advisor for them going forward on,
Probably your, your broker, I'm not sure if Kimberly is the broker, if Cummins, the firm that she works for, is Jane, more of a senior person.
Yeah, that's right, it's actual broker that Kimberly works for,
Yeah,
so
yeah, who's selling you this product.
I think when the enrollment.
I'm not sure how Bill
Probably
arrived at deciding on that.
I think, really, you need your director to be leading the charge and kind of networking and figuring out, who can be, what are other park districts doing with these small staffs?
They know. They're
Because
just
you're looking at your obligation to just, for the 30-hour plus employees. And then in 2015, it's going to change. They're going to do that look back.
Oh,
So that's when in 2015 is when you're going to have to do the average hours. So for your seasonal folks, that may trigger, depending on what 6-month window you use. So, you're really going to need to have somebody who's got their facts, right? And they know exactly how to do the analysis correctly and position, make the best recommendation possible to you.
Sean, Nicole said that Bill Walker did inform the employees about the 50% for
Okay.
spouses.
Okay, so if we approve this tonight, 99% for the employees and 50% for the spouses.
That's just for the insurance purpose right there. The 99%, what we actually charge the employee, whether it be 80%, 90%, that's for us. Because essentially, us as the district will be paying in full 100% to the insurance.
It comes out of the employee's
Whatever-
paycheck.
Right, exactly.
Tracking.
So we can go back to whatever we budgeted.
Yes, that right there is just a number on a form,
Oh, okay.
just
For
to
some reason,
allow
it's-
our
I
employees
did the
to
major
waive
thing too, yeah.
insurance coverage.
So we really
That's all
don't
that is.
do much, except just to
Make sure we cover everybody that's eligible.
Yes, that's just a number on a form, so we can allow our employees.
So our budget approved, was it 90?
90 and 50.
90 and 50.
It was 90 and 50.
So 90% for
Practical.
For employees?
90% for employees, 50% for their dependents, and that will cover 5 employees, a position for the director that's unfilled. And then, I wrote it down where
May I say one thing?
Of course you can.
Actually, it was 50% for spouse. It really did address children. And, just to throw that out there, my insurance policy, it doesn't matter if I have 10, there's mine and then family, so it's mine, and then if I have 20 kids, it's the same. But I think some insurance companies, it's more per child, isn't it? It's like-
Well,
Well, it's spouse, it's employee, spouse,
Yeah.
employees plus spouse rather, and then employees plus children, or employee plus spouse plus children.
And sometimes it'll be,
The only reason I'm-
for one child, it's one rate, for 2, it's another, but then anything over 2, it's
The
usually...
reason I bring that up, I want, if we do choose to go down the road of children, we would have to, I guess, change the budget, right? Because we had it as
we
a
already have to
spouse.
change the
Yeah,
budget.
okay. That's
we
fine.
will.
Because we only accounted for the director, the
Bill, coach.
the director, the coach, and
Okay.
That's your thing for most.
aquatic director.
Okay. How do you guys feel about that?
The director, the maintenance supervisor, head coach, and the aquatics director. Yeah, so the 4 would be director, maintenance supervisor, head coach, aquatics director,
Okay.
and you,
And Aaron.
And Colleen,
Aaron.
anybody else who
Yeah,
is.
and Colleen.
She was averaging...
So that's 6.
Yes,
That's currently
myself,
6
Aaron,
employees.
Colleen for sure average over 30 a week. And like I said, Travis is very borderline, but I also know he's very interested.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, I must be really thick tonight, and I need a little reassurance. We have a form which Sean is going to sign, which doesn't mean anything, which says that we pay 99% of the cost of
The
insurance
district.
for the district. And yet we're paying something different because it was in a budget that was approved earlier. It seems to me that one of those documents is anonymous.
The 99%, because if it says 100%, that means that our employees that are eligible for the plan will have to be enrolled in the plan. And if they have to be enrolled in the plan, just as Paige said, they can't be charged anything for it because they have to be enrolled in cost
Cost-sharing.
Cost sharing, yes. So if you put 99% as the employer cost, it allows the employee to waive
I hear
their,
what you're saying, but if there are only 6 employees, if I was an auditor, if it wasn't a number that was 1/6 of 100%, then I would say that you have demanded everybody to be covered, because you can't get 1% less. If one person drops out, it's 1/6 of 100.
No, we're good here, because if, like Nicole said, if we put 100% on here, then we're forced to
I
provide it
get
for
that.
everybody.
But isn't 99% the same as 100% if you've got 6 people and you said you're going to cover 99%?
No.
No, it's the percentage of costs versus
Percentage?
not
So
percentage
how
of
does
people.
percentage of cost get...
Because we break that down internally, right,
1%.
and allow it,
I should be silent on this because I'm totally confused on what you guys decided. I'm quite happy with what you come up with, but I'm feeling insecure about one document or the other.
the 99% will allow people to decline it and allow the district not to have to pay for everybody that's eligible. If they want to decline it, they can. That's what the
I
99%.
understand that logic.
Now,
If I had 100 people...
we will still have to pay United Health, I don't know why I keep going to United Health, so much per month for all 6 employees, right? But that breakdown, 90% from us, 10% from the employee, We set that, and United Healthcare doesn't see that. They see the total, right? That breakdown is internal.
So we collect the 10%?
We take it out of the paycheck. So they pay for it out of the paycheck.
But we pay
It's
the
with-
bill.
And we pay the bill.
Okay.
So we pay 90%, and we take that 10% out of their paycheck. We pay 50% for their spouse, and they pay the other 50% if they elect to have them out of their paycheck.
It is definitely confusing. There's no way around it.
Well, yet it's a different conflict of roles, because what we're doing is we're charging employees to be able to work here. Because
It's that way for my insurance, though, too.
Yeah.
They take money out of my insurance.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
I mean, I don't see that.
90-10 is a pretty good split, really.
90/10's a great split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much better than what I get.
I want to be good and just be quiet.
I pay 33% roughly of mine, probably, so that's a guy. That's about right.
Yep.
It depends on how many plans you have.
So I think we all pay more. So then tonight we're going to make a vote about carrying forward with United Healthcare for 6 employees at 90% for the employee and 50% for the spouse.
How about children?
What did we say in the budget meeting?
It wasn't addressed.
It wasn't addressed. I.e.
Matt has a child.
Matt has a daughter.
I would do that, that's important, because I feel like
I do
taking
too.
things out without really telling.
I feel comfortable with that too, Alan.
I think that's probably what we intended.
Spouse and
50%
children.
for children as well. yeah.
Okay. So that being said, I need a motion to carry forth 90% for the employee, 50% for the spouse and children for United Healthcare for 2014.
I make a motion that we as a district provide insurance through United Healthcare, 90% for the employee, 50% for the spouse, and also 50% for the children. For 6 employees for the year 2014.
So I have a motion to provide United Healthcare insurance to 6 employees for 2014 at 90% for the employee and 50% for the spouse and children. Do I have a second?
Second, would you?
I have a second. Discussion.
Well, one thing I want to discuss is, it should actually be for all employees over 30 hours. It can't be the 6. So I would like to amend this motion to include all employees who are working over 30 hours on an average per week.
Could I make an adjustment and just suggest that you make it for all eligible employees? And then we don't have...
We'll amend this to make this available to all eligible employees.
Okay, so I have an adjustment to make it for all eligible employees.
Thank you.
And since the mover amended it, it sounds like it must be a friendly motion.
All right, do I still have a second for the adjusted motion?
Who did the second?
Still discussion afterwards?
Yes, sir.
Good second, yeah.
Yes, we do have a second. Now, discussion, Dave.
Nicole, you mentioned that we can opt out of this at any time. So do we still have the flexibility now that if we put this in place now so that we're in compliance with the ACA, do we still have flexibility to continue to shop, to find something that's better suited for our needs and our employees?
So if you look on the next page, if you can click, if there's some way that and there's going to be a lot of changes, I imagine, around that 50, that count, that threshold, and how that's calculated. So, there's so many part-time and very part-time employees and seasonal. You have these peaks in the summer and such. So, in my research I found that there's this thing, if you have fewer than 50 employees, whatever the definition of employee is, through the Small Business Health Options Program, through the marketplace. So that gives small employers, such as yourselves, an avenue to access other options for health. We're obviously not alone here. Everybody's faced with the same, small business owners are in the same conundrum. And it was interesting is there's also a small employer health credit. This one was just neat. And even though we don't pay taxes, we pay payroll taxes. And you would receive a credit against those. It's kind of cool. And actually, I printed it out because I thought it was so cool. So it says, it's very small print. But it talks, can you guys see that there? Where, here's that. It gives the employer, even as, so you can take that credit off your taxes. And it depends on the size of your organization, how many employees you have, but it could be 25% credit, and that would be huge. So maybe that's an avenue is to shop in the marketplace that if you can fit under that small employer definition. And again, it's that how you look at you classify the employees and their average hours. So there's just more homework to do.
We just so that first one.
Payroll provider.
Pardon?
The full 25% credit, pay at least 50% of the cost of single, not family health care coverage for each of your employees. We do at least that. Employ fewer than 10 full-time equivalent employees. I think we're playing around with 6 right now. Travis gets in. Pay less than $25,000 in average wages per employee.
But is that employee eligible for the
No, it just says per employee.
care?
No, because you've got full-time equivalent employees as a category above, and then per employee, and that doesn't have the full-time equivalent. So it has to be a broader cast, which would be all the employees. So that I don't see that as, I think we fit really well.
Sounds like that.
So there's more work to do, but it's just going to, and I think 2014 will just continue to evolve and change.
Yeah, it would. You're right.
By the day.
You've done a super job. Thank you.
Oh,
It does state that the average wages of all employees must be no more than $50,000. Definitely. Underneath that.
Yeah. Any other discussion on the motion?
The collective, like every employee.
Oh, do that. I'm not sure. You know how to reach it, right? Somewhere my number was.
I'm sure I can find it. If not, I can get
You guys have my work number.
That's a problem.
My home number.
Further discussion on the motion? Dave?
No, I don't have any further discussion.
Alan?
No.
Are you in?
Steve?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. All in favor of continuing United Healthcare for all eligible employees at 90% for the employee and 50% for the spouse and dependents?
Is this continuing or beginning? I mean, we are
This is
currently,
continuing, correct?
are we currently under United?
No, this would be new.
This would be new. Thank you for clarifying that.
We have Blue Cross.
For all in favor of providing United Healthcare insurance for all employees, eligible employees, 90% for the employee, 50% for the spouse and dependent. Ayes?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do not need to do a roll call. All right, that's all that's on the agenda tonight.
Actually, there was one more thing.
You asked me to add something and I forgot to do it.
I did.
What was it?
Can we go there?
Sure we can. I think we're done with the
We
motion.
could just let Nicole say it, but, so, I guess they have a computer that went down and out of computer.
That's right.
They've got 4 computers total, 4 or 5. They're all kind of shaky. One of them is dead completely. One of them is kind of going down for the count soon. Having a lot of problems. So I had Nicole put together an estimate for this computer. These are quotes for 2 Dell Business computers. And these were put together by our IT guy, correct? And I guess he went down this route because for them to hook it up to the network, these were basically the computers he felt we should have. Here's what it says. Below are the 2 quotes for 2 Dell Business computers. The cheaper is the absolute minimum price I can get a Dell Business machine for. The second is a mid-range workstation. Give me a call when you get the chance, and I will explain the differences between the 2 and elaborate a bit more on the computer purchases in general. is a Dell Optiplex 3010.
Steve, can I interrupt?
Yes,
Carolyn.
Carolyn, thank you so much for everything you did. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. The Dell Optiplex 3010 with a 3-year warranty, business class, Windows 7 Pro, Pentium dual core processor, 2 gigabyte of memory, 250 gig hard drive, no MS Office or monitor, $513.50. The other one, the step up from it, $657. This comes from Tom Boyer, Wayport Business Solutions.
Okay, so we need to replace a computer that went,
The one in the fishbowl that's used by the aerobics and our running club, computer ate the hard drive, they put a new one in, ate that hard drive, and it's down and out.
okay,
So,
spinning the blue screen of death is
yes,
definitely
the blue
happening.
screen.
Okay.
I hear the problem with computers, but there's another issue that sits beside it, which I think we have to address. This is a public, non-profit agency, which means that we should be able, if people are willing to contribute things, to accept those contributions and have them write them off their taxes. Now, if that's possible, Tom Johnson makes a habit of providing the schools with computers all the time, like 40 or so of them that he's provided in the last few years, because that's sort of his hobby.
He might even provide them to the senior center.
Yeah, he might. But the thing is that he might be somebody to look at to see if we could get these things for free, and he could write them off his taxes if we gave him a receipt for them.
Could you have Erica maybe talk to him, because she needs the computer for the swim lessons? It's Erica, correct, for swim lessons?
Her computer's starting to get faulty, yes, but it's the one that sits right next to her.
So,
The need for the computer doesn't have to be shown. We agree. But it's just a matter if we can get Tom involved in the loop so that we didn't have to pay for it. It might be helpful with the budget.
I can talk to Erica and we can
I mean, those are good prices.
try that.
Is,
The reason that Tony, because I had, you can go to Office Max and get a computer for $230, and so I was like, what's wrong with doing that? Why spend the extra couple $100? He said that because of the system, we're all wired network, and they can gain access to our system, so they don't actually have to make personal trips in here, that the home computers don't wire in as nice as these Dells do. So
Okay.
that's why the business computers are what it's.
well, no, I was going to say something, but it's not public. What's that?
yes, sir. You sure?
Well, it goes along with what Commissioner McDougal was saying. Perhaps we could get a citizen to donate a comparable machine, and then they would be able to write that off their taxes. Citizens could also. Is there any reason why we need something that's brand new? If it's suitable and fits the purpose, and it sounds like we need something more in line to a business than a personal home computer, but there are, I would imagine, a couple of computer places here in town that might have taken something in on a trade or consignment that they would be willing to write off.
In the meantime, we do have a computer that is free, and it's open and available. It happens to be the director's, because we don't currently have a director. So as we pursue other options, there is a computer for them to use. So I think let's look at other options before we buy a computer.
Well, I think Tom might be a really quick answer to it. And he knows this computer stuff, so he may be able to tell you exactly what would fit. So I understand the need, right?
Yes, to understand the need. Any further comments on the computers? Sorry for not having that. Thank you for reminding us.
Do they normally require the Microsoft Office suite to be like Word and Excel?
That's yes.
Okay, so that'd be an additional cost
Yeah,
to upgrade.
I don't know, I'd have to ask Tony, to be honest, but it may already be a part of that.
I didn't
And
see
not necessarily. If we have license for a certain number of computers and one of them is dead, we can reinstall that on a new computer because it's not currently licensed for a dead machine.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. Anything else that I did forget, or any other last-minute commissioner issues? I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Elizabeth, thank you for showing up again. Appreciate your emails and your input the last month. Thank Carolyn, even though she already left. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. We are adjourned at 7:48. Thank you all.